A very good friend of mine, Marlisa, has demanded me to give some tips for new directors. It's a big question and a huge territory, but I'm going to be serious about it. I think the desire to tell a story is the biggest tip that I can give you. You have to be passionate about the story. You have to be knowledgeable about the story. And what does that mean? It means that you need to identify with why you want to tell the story and why and to whom you want to tell that story. And that's the key, I think, is really to identify that. And that puts it against, that desire to, I'm just doing a story because I want to show what I can do. I think we all want to show what we can do, but we have to marry that with an intent to do what theatre should do. And theatre should speak about our humanity, it should speak about our society, it should speak to that. And that doesn't mean it has to be tragic all the time. It can be amusing, it can be entertaining, whether it's lifting the human spirit or advising the human spirit or educating the human spirit. It doesn't matter. So I think that's the first tip. Really identify with your story and identify with why you want to tell that story and to whom you want to tell that story. And then I think the next tip is to find out how you want to tell that story, the how. In what way do you want to tell the story? Which is the best way to tell the story? Is it through what lens, if that's a way of putting it, through what lens should I tell the story? And obviously that's determined by the audience, your target audience, whether that target audience is adult or whether it's a specific age group, 14 to 18, or whether it's wider than that, you're going to determine how you want to tell that story. So what we're talking about here in kind of theatre terms is what's your concept, what's your how are your ideas going to be translated to that audience. That's very crucial to determine that. So all these kinds of things come into play with what's the style. That's what we mean by the way in which you're going to tell the story. And once you've determined that, obviously the next tip is to consider, particularly when we make theatre in South Africa, is money. We have to be strategic in terms of the conceptual thinking, because 9 times out of 10 you're trying to do it on the smell of an oil rag or with limited budget, and that's really crucial. But it's also exciting because in that way you really got to think, you really got to conceptualize in a way that stimulates your creativity and hopefully the creativity and imagination of the audience. So that's really crucial. You might be lucky enough to work within big budgets, but I'm going to take the premise that the tip hangs on the fact that we're working with a limited budget. But limited budget doesn't mean necessarily disadvantage, because simplicity in terms of storytelling can be just as arresting as the spectacle. So the way in which you telling the story and how you tell the story are crucial tips. And I think moving on from that, let's assume you have a concept, you know why you want to tell the story, to whom you're telling the story, and you've identified the space in which that story is going to be held, because that's important, and obviously that's linked to your conceptual thinking. Then I think the next tip is that for young directors, new directors, is that there's directing is about a dialogue. It's about facilitation. It's not a platform for you to show off and to show other actors what you can do and to make other actors look stupid. I think that's a serious point. I think it's absolutely crucial that you learn an aesthetic, and that aesthetic embraces a communication, a way in which you talk, a way in which you share the generosity in the spirit of the way in which you work. So that comes down to learning a particular kind of language, if you like. I was put a lot of weight on in teaching young directors is looking at that language communication and looking to shift ways in which young directors talk. No, that's wrong. That kind of stuff, and find another language that doesn't put the actor into a position where they're just trying to achieve a result that you want. That the language opens up a territory of exploration and a freedom to explore without the fear of failing in that particular area. So I think that's an important tip. And another tip I think work must always be fun. And in order to find that fun, I think you have to be knowledgeable. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be intrigued by what you're doing. You have to have a curiosity about what you're doing. Otherwise, you don't find the fun in it.